Welcome to another episode of Silicon Valley Tech, Art, Green, and Sustainability. Today I'm very honored to have with me a guest who is just brilliant. She's an artist, but her background is very interesting. And Holly Van Hart, thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Heather.
I'm so excited you're here. And before we get started talking about your artwork, tell us a little bit about you, your background, where you're from, etc.
Sure.
Yeah.
So first let me share with you what I believe in, because that's a theme that runs through all of my art. And I believe that life offers us virtually limitless possibilities and opportunities. And that's a theme you'll see through my art. And I am a full-time professional artist. I do oil paintings, so oil paintings that are inspired by nature, that you'll see a lot of trees and flowers and nests painted somewhat abstractly. Well, let me rewind to my girlhood, because I did a lot of art then too, but I didn't know I was going to be a professional artist back then. I did a lot of painting, but I didn't specialize in painting. I did ceramics, calligraphy, sketching, played the clarinet, so just a little bit of everything.
And do you have any of the art from your childhood?
My mother probably does.
So you
she
need to get
saves
some of
everything. She really saves everything.
Next time you have an exhibition, you can put some of that out.
I'll ask her to dig it out of the attic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, my mother went to studied art in college, and when she graduated, she was married and pregnant with me. So she had lots of great art supplies all around the house, and she liked to teach us how to do art and what she learned, and she let us use all of her great supplies.
And you learned it in school, too.
Yes.
And back then they actually had it in school, right?
That's true.
A lot of schools take it out now.
Yeah, that's true. And then when it came time to go to college, I didn't consider art as a career. I didn't know any professional artists. I didn't know that could even be a career. So I did something else. I studied something else that I was good at, which was math and science, and I went to engineering school.
And you went to Stanford?
Went to Stanford.
As your master's?
I got a master's degree in industrial engineering and operations research from Stanford.
Which again, Stanford isn't just some little engineering school you get into. It's a tough school. It's one of the best ones. So
it was a great experience.
So we know you're a smart cookie.
That was a great experience, especially because I grew up in New York, and then Stanford brought me out here to Silicon Valley.
And again, you don't have any. No hint of an accent from New York.
Yeah, I shook
Upstate
that a long time ago. New York City, Staten Island, New York.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which in New York, I mean, you know, on a weekend, any given weekend, you go to millions of art galleries, and it's not as prominent here. Although Stanford has a really great art gallery.
Yeah, it does.
And then the city.
Yeah, it does. And San Francisco has some, but yes, New York is the place, you know, in the world for art. But coming out here is what made me fall in love with Silicon Valley. So I've been here most of my adult life. And I took my engineering degree, and I did go into engineering, and then I switched into sales management and marketing management. And I had a full career in high tech, over 20 years.
And you look so young, it doesn't look like you could have just had a 20-year career.
I wish.
And your husband went to school with you too, that's how you met?
Yes, he was getting a PhD in mechanical engineering. And so
3 children or 2?
2 children, 2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah, they're
wow,
11
so
and 13.
Too. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So I had that career, and it was 2.5 years ago that I switched from high tech to becoming a full-time professional artist.
Which is wow. So I'm going to pull up the first slide. You talked a little bit about your art, but let's pull up the first one. And here's the first one. I think it's just so lovely. Tell us about this.
Sure. Thank you. This one is called Blooms Abounding. And my art has to do with kind of the bounty of life and the possibilities and the opportunities. So in many of my paintings, you'll see a lot of something, a lot of flowers, trees. So this is about bountifulness.
And let's pull that down, and we can bring up the next slide too, which these are beautiful.
Thank you. These are very recent paintings with autumn themes, now that we're here in autumn. Autumn gold and autumn reds, and autumn reds is here in the studio with us. And these again are a celebration of life's bounty and the vibrancy of the colors.
They're great. Where do you get your inspiration for them? I mean, are these real life drawings that you take, or pictures, or is it kind of a combination? I mean, how do you get your inspiration for it?
It's a combination. So I take a lot of photos and I use those as inspiration. And usually it's not any single photo. I have to put a few of them together to get the right composition and the right feeling to it. My paintings are inspired by photos, but then I make a lot up as I go along as well.
So do you spend do you plan a day out that you know you're going to go take photos in different seasons, or how do you?
Sometimes I do that. Mostly it's a little bit more ad hoc, the photo taking. But sometimes I do. I'll make a trip to San Francisco, or if I know I'm going to be
Yosemite.
Yosemite. I love Yosemite.
Yeah. And then do you ever go back to New York for inspiration? Because they have the seasons there that we do not have here, right?
Yeah, I do. My whole family is still in New York, so I go back there at least once a year, take lots of photos there.
Lots of reds and fall
and
right
greens.
now. Yeah.
The lushness of the greens is something we don't really have
I've
here.
never been to New York in fall, so I'm going to have to do that at some point.
Yeah, totally.
So did you formally train? Tell us about your training. And, did you actually go back and take classes? Or?
So when I was working in high tech, art was my hobby. So it was a very passionate hobby, and I took a lot of classes at night. So at the Pacific Art League and the Triton Museum of Art and elsewhere, I took classes.
And so for people that don't know, Pacific Art League is Palo Alto?
It's in Palo Alto.
Okay, and Triton, Santa Clara?
It's in Santa Clara,
okay.
Yeah. And I took art classes mostly at night and painted on the weekends and nights. And I did that as well as kind of self-study. So through reading books, not only on art, but art history, I've read hundreds of books, and I still continue to do that.
That's awesome. Let's pull up another slide here. This is beautiful. Tell us about this.
Thank you. This is called Field of Dreams. And each of these flowers represents kind of an opportunity in our life. And some of them are big and bold, and some of them are kind of faded away and gone, and others are just kind of growing up in there to be grasped and grown into something bigger.
And they look like daisies, but they're kind of morphed. So
yeah, they are daisies, and they're meant to be daisies that are blowing in the wind. And life is like that, you know. It's not just a straight line. It's not linear. We get blown around a little bit, even when we're chasing our dreams.
So I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you teach, or would you ever consider teaching people?
I don't teach currently. Maybe in the future. Right now, I'm having so much fun painting that I haven't made the time to go and do that.
Right, because you have a great studio. I mean, I could visualize people taking classes from you, or maybe West Valley or one of the places locally.
Yeah, and some people have asked me, so maybe one of these days. But right now, I'm just having too much fun.
And I guess I didn't include this in the questions, but I'm going to ask: do you do plein air at all? Do you do outside painting?
I do some.
Okay.
So mostly when I'm on vacation. So if I'm away from my studio, I have a painting box that I bring with me everywhere, all over the world, ready to go, and that's where I do my plein air.
So
painting.
in the plein air, I'm pronouncing it right,
yes.
is outside painting.
It's outside painting. It just means painting outside.
Yeah.
It's a French term that means painting outside.
So,
yeah, and I enjoy that
and we
too.
have pretty good weather here. We've been having like a hot streak and not any rain, so you could pretty much do that any time.
You
here.
can.
Yeah, in California.
Can. You need a chunk of 2-3 hours. And then it has to be the right time of day.
Lighting.
The lighting is really important, so kind of the beginning of the day and the end of the day are the best.
Do you work on commission then sometimes too, or do you just paint and then sell it, or how do you?
Yes, yes. So I do both. So most of the paintings that we've seen here today are I just did them on my own in my studio from my own inspirations. But I also do a lot of commissioned work, and I really, really enjoy that.
So what's the process then?
So people, somebody would come to me and say, Holly, I really like this painting, but it's sold, or I really like that painting, but I have this big space in my house, and that one's too small for this space.